Welcome back. As we said, the reason I'm here is to meet the midterms, and we're coming to you live from Dallas. So joining me now are a couple of Texas political experts. It's Julie Fine, political reporter at NBC5, Dallas-Fort Worth, our affiliate here in the DFW, and Abby Livingston, Washington bureau chief at the Texas Tribune. Ruth Marcus and Matthew Continetti are going to stick around for me in Washington. Have a little national in Texas, although in Texas, the national is Texas, right?
We're a very important state, Chuck. We're very important.
As everybody in Texas likes to remind me. So, Julie, let's start with Texas. You heard Senator Cruz there. Was that a confident Senator Cruz? Is that a guy that feels like he's going to get reelected, or does he feel a real race?
I think that Senator Cruz, whether he's confident or not, is always going to run like the underdog. He has said that all along. He said, he's basically said you can't take anything for granted. And I think he's running a very, very strong, hard race right now. He's doing 2-3 events a day. That's, a page out of Beto's book. Beto's been traveling. Beto O'Rourke has been traveling all through Texas for a long time now. Ted Cruz has a bus tour. He is not running like he feels overconfident, but you do have to remember, right now polls show him ahead 5, 6, 9 points. So,
Abby Livingston, if 10 years ago, I don't think we would have expected a Republican incumbent senator to be doing bus trips across the state in October.
Absolutely.
So things have changed.
Things have changed, and I think it wasn't even 10 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I think Donald Trump has just reset the politics of the state of Texas, just like everywhere else. With the Rust Belt, we saw the rural areas come out in 2016 and revolt in favor of the Republicans. And in 2016 in Texas, we saw the cities come out and go Democratic. And so this is a new terrain for anyone following Texas politics.
All right, so what does this mean for Beto? Is this, there's this... He seems, the joke is he's a bigger national following than a Texas following. But judging what I've been here, he's got a big Texas following, too.
Representative O'Rourke has a very big Texas following. But what Representative O'Rourke needs is independent voters. He needs some Republican voters, and he certainly needs the new voters. So the question for him really will be turnout, and how many people he can get out to vote, and how many of those new voters he can get in his direction. Because Texas, as you know, is a very red state. It's a very conservative state. So he's really got to have some crossover appeal.
Is this, though, are there swing voters, or is this a margin race? Meaning it's all about running up the margins where he's going to be strong and hope they can tamp down the turnout where Cruz is going to be strong.
I think to an extent. I spoke to some voters in Fort Worth, my hometown, and some of them were not normal midterm voters. These are either people who don't vote or vote in the presidential. And so he has gotten them to come to the polls for the first time. At the same time, this has made Republican voters very nervous, and they are starting to react to this by voting themselves. So it is anyone's guess who is turning out between now and Election Day.
Here's something that has befuddled me watching the O'Rourke campaign, and I'm curious about what you two say about this. Every other red state Democrat, Kyrsten Sinema, the Democratic nominee in Arizona, Phil Bredesen, the Democratic nominee in Tennessee, Joe Manchin, the incumbent senator in West Virginia, all of them are tacking to the middle and hugging the middle, almost running away from the left wing of the party. Beto isn't, which I think is what makes him so popular with progressives. They're like, oh, look, he's willing to do that in a red state. Is that politically smart or not?
Well, I think what he has always said throughout this campaign is that he is going to be true to who he is. So at this point, even if he wanted to go a little bit more towards the middle to get to that independent voter, he really can't do that. This is who he says he is, and he has stuck through it through the campaign. Will it hurt him with the independent voter? It could. It depends how far left they're willing to go, or if they're a one-issue voter or not.
And Abby, I'm willing to recalibrate my own thinking. I'm watching Florida, and I would have said no, Andrew Gillum's going to not be a strong statewide candidate. He's turned into a very strong statewide candidate. So maybe things have changed.
What is going on is Cruz probably has a stable lead according to all of these polls, but it comes back to we are seeing strange things. We see enthusiasm that is hard for polling to detect all over the state of Texas. Maybe the polls are right, maybe they are not. I think the biggest miscalculation for anyone in my position is to convey some sort of certainty about this race. It is the wildest thing I've ever seen in Texas politics, and I've lived here, or I've been a part of Texas for a very long time.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.